Welcome to the Resilient Butterfly Podcast. My goal is to share inspiring stories of healing and recovery through many diverse approaches and models. Our guests bring incredible lived experiences, insights, and/or professional expertise, each with their own unique path. While we highlight and celebrate these stories, our intention is to inform, inspire, and demonstrate resilience and creativity. This podcast does not endorse any one approach. We believe there is more than one way to heal, and we're here to showcase the resilience and possibilities that exist. Hi, welcome to Resilient Butterfly Podcast. I'm Pam Feinberg-Rivkin, and I'm so excited today to have with me Tricia Youngs, who is a licensed mental health counselor here in South Florida and has written a book, Rescued, and has recently published. It's not even recent anymore. It's at least 6 months, right?
Yes.
February. So it's before we know, it's going to be a year. I can't believe it, right?
It's crazy. It's crazy how time goes so fast.
You know,
I
have
feel like my mother.
Yeah, don't even talk to me about
right.
that. So do I. But that's another story.
Yeah, right. For another day.
Anyway, I actually was at the conference when you declared you were going to write that book. I was sitting
you at the Global Exchange?
Yeah, I was sitting in the room with when you stood up and you told your story, and Gabor Mate said, "You write your book."
Yes,
and then you declared that was what was going to happen. That was 3 years ago?
Yeah, it was about 3 years.
I know we're a little...
maybe about 2 years ago, I think. Maybe two, maybe about two and a half.
I mean, in last year's Global Exchange
it was a blur.
Right.
It was a false start.
So Rescued, I read the book, and not only tells your story and your resilience, it demonstrates the resilience in your life, and this is why you're on this podcast, Resilient Butterfly, because you are a butterfly and demonstrated that in your life. But, and not even but, and I want to have you share the reason, the purpose of this book. I want to start with a quote from the book. "Can a shattered heart and soul truly heal? What if your deepest pain could become your greatest source of strength?"
Wow. I actually still get chills when I think that, when I hear it, and I'm like, oh, I wrote that.
Yeah.
And I did write all of the words. I didn't write any of the words. They were all my words. And the reason that I wrote the book is truly, I felt that as a therapist, and also as a person who has experienced and recovered from complex trauma, I had a unique perspective. And I felt compelled to share that unique perspective with others. So I didn't write the book to bring any attention to myself of like, oh, wow, look at me, look at what I went through, and look at now I'm so wonderful.
Well, that came out in the book.
Yeah.
Clearly, there is no victimization in this book, and there's no victimization in your way of being. You have your epitome of looking at what it takes to heal, to recover, and be able to have and use that strength and the resilience of what the shitty life that you were delved to or given.
Absolutely.
In your
all those
childhood.
less than nurturing experiences, all those really shattering curveballs that I was dealt. And I have learned along the journey. It's interesting. I had a therapist at one point in the journey. Her name was Margaret, and she was this little old lady from Kentucky. And she would just sit there and she would say to me, she goes, "God's going to use every morsel, every single morsel." And I literally have found that to be true, that everything that I have experienced has been able to be helpful for somebody else. Now, that doesn't mean I have to share my story with all of the people that I work with, because I really don't. but I have an inside, like I've got like an inside information on what could potentially be going on in somebody's mind that they're not necessarily sharing.
Not only that, but viscerally, you have felt it.
Oh, I
You've
have felt it.
experienced
I've
it.
experienced it. I have gone through all of the stages
Mm-hmm.
of fight, flight, freeze,
Mm-hmm.
fawn. I've gone through all of them. And I've gone through all the adaptations, right, to medicate the pain.
Sure.
And I've gone through what it takes to get to the other side, to not have to continue to self-medicate and run.
What was your personal turning point in this beginning of your recovery, of healing?
Mm. Well, once I got sober, so I got sober young. I got sober when I was 26. The party
Mm-hmm.
was over. I was no longer partying. I was drinking alone. So the party was over. And once I got sober, interestingly enough, they think, oh, you get sober. There he
Mm-hmm.
is. It's all going to be good. No, once I got sober, everything that I had been suppressing with the alcohol
Sure.
came up and strangled me. It just was oozing out of me.
And that's why so many people can't stay sober because
Exactly, because they can't learn to live in this skin that we've been given.
sure.
Like I say that in today's society, we can replace a lot of body parts, right? People replace all sorts of body parts. We can't replace the actual temple, the actual
Mhm.
container that we live
Mhm.
in. So we have to learn how to live in it, even through the uncomfortable stuff. And so I had to learn. Now, I got sober a long time ago. I got sober in 1987. So in 1987, we didn't have a lot of the clinical skills or the tools that we have now.
Mhm.
Emotional regulation wasn't even a word. Like we didn't have any of that. They said, you just sit there and, sit there and feel your feelings and you're not, I remember one guy says, nobody ever died of lack of sleep, sweetheart. Just keep going. I mean, it just.
Well, people have become psychotic from lack of sleep.
Exactly. They become psychotic and then they've killed themselves because of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have died.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So for me, I think I'm digressing a little, but I have been very passionate since being a therapist to make sure that people didn't have to suffer
Mhm.
the way myself and other people suffered in early recovery because we have so many more tools now.
Yeah.
So for me, the turning point for me in my recovery, the pivot point was really, was having so many flashbacks and it was just so hard to live in my skin.
Mhm.
I was forced to do the work early on. Because if I didn't do the work early on, I was going to die. I knew that.
And what type of work was available for you to even do? Then you say a lot of the work that is now, like probably the somatic work.
Yeah, there was no. Well, yeah, there really wasn't a lot of the somatic work. I was in group therapy. No, I was in therapy twice a week
Mhm.
for like at least 6, 7 years, twice a week. I would go to group every Wednesday night. We would do psychodrama. So I
Mhm.
did a lot of psychodrama as a client. And
Was this
met
down here in
individually.
South Florida?
Yeah, it was down here in South Florida. It was in Delray and Boca Del Rey. So we did that.
And that was even pretty early on, the psychodrama. It started in the 70s.
Yeah, so this was in 87. It started in 87 or 88. Yeah. And I had to go to a psych hospital because they wanted to put me on medication. And I was like, nobody's taking away my sobriety. Like, because I was, and this was early. Not many people were on meds. And so I went into a psych hospital for a week so they could, they convinced me if I would go into the hospital, I'd be monitored. So because I was scared. Like I wasn't suicidal. I wasn't afraid of that. I was afraid that I was going to lose my recovery.
Sure.
And I was like fighting vehemently. Nobody's going to take that away from me.
So, in regard to, I lost my train of thought here. I'm sorry. Um, in regard to, you were in therapy, but at what point did you decide to go back to school to be a therapist?
Oh, I didn't decide to go back to school until, God, I must have been 15 years sober, maybe
So you did a
around
lot of
50.
work
I did a
before you
lot of work
became.
before I became a therapist. I was, I was what I would consider pretty fully healed. I was functioning on all levels. Not necessarily well on some of those levels, but I was functioning quite well. And I was in a church service, and the pastor said, "You're going to go." No, the pastor didn't say that. He said, "Let's do a let's ask God what the purpose is for your life." So we went into this meditation, and I heard God say, "You will go, and you will be the healer of hearts." What? What kind of crap is that?
This is why the heart?
Exactly. That is why there's the heart on the cover. Yeah. And
I'm not sure if everybody saw this because we have cameras around. So I'm just going to.
yeah.
But
And
beautiful cover, by the way.
yeah, isn't that great? The cover was the inspiration for the cover was actually a piece of artwork I have in my yard that my friend Dana Bathurst gave me because it mimics the logo that I have for my business.
So I'm just going to have to just tell Bella to lay down. Bella, lay down. Good girl. And for the listeners here, Bella is a therapy dog, but she is a dog.
Yeah.
So I'm going to I'm going to say another quote. Understand the basics of trauma psychology and emotional recovery. Explore how early abuse and neglect impact current relationships. And there's common hidden traumas that women experience, men too. Yeah. But I want to talk about specifically with you, women, and how early abuse affects the adult relationships and self-worth and the role of shame and fear in those. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a whole master's series.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, early neglect, early abuse, right, literally impacts the way an individual thinks about themselves. It doesn't impact the way the child doesn't. It doesn't impact the way the child feels about the caretaker. Because they know they need that caretaker in order to survive. And so they continue to place that caretaker in a place of they're good, but I must be bad. So the child internalizes that message of I must be bad. There's something wrong with me. Things like this wouldn't be happening to me if I was good. Basically, I mean, that's simplifying it. Right?
Sure.
Well,
we don't know that as children or even adults either
No.
until someone can point that out.
Exactly. And the other piece is when a child is exposed to an adult's boundaryless behavior, shameful boundaryless behavior, the adult just dumps all of that shame into the environment. And that little life just absorbs all the shame and they absorb it like from here to here. You just absorb all that energy and they carry it like it's theirs.
Right.
Almost like a little backpack. Okay, this is who I am and this is mine to carry. And so as you grow up, you're entering into relationships in an adapted, altered place. So you're entering into a relationship typically from a less than. I'm less than. I don't have a lot of self-confidence. I don't know what my real value is. And it's impossible to be intimate if you're always trying to figure out who you are in relation to who you're interacting with.
Yeah.
Like if I'm trying to decide who I am based on who you are and what you're wearing, and what am I wearing? Is that appropriate? If I'm judging who I am against all of these externals,
Yeah.
it's prison.
I'm actually involved in a Netflix series called Envious. And it's based on a grown woman, who was abandoned by her father when she was 3. And the relationships and so forth, and her work with a therapist, and the denial, and then working through that. So it's really interesting that more and more programs or movies, what I'm saying is that there's more available for people to start I wonder if that has anything to do with my life, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think movies can be amazingly cathartic because they can open up, movies and artwork and music, they can open up these lost parts of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And creatively, it can get to places where language can't get to, because some of the things that happen to people happened before language was available.
Right. So I want to actually address that or talk about
Sure.
that, because I think in your book, or in many things that I've really read as well, is there some people go through life like there's something wrong with me, I'm damaged, but can't remember.
Sure.
Like, nothing happened to me.
Right. There's like no marker event.
No ability to think back or remember anything.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make? What can you say about that?
Well,
You've seen that a lot.
I see it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely see it a lot. And when that happens, well, one of the things I tell people is you don't have to remember exactly what it was or if it was. If you need that information in order to heal, it will surface.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to go digging for it and try to unearth something that you may or may not ever find.
Yeah.
Because if something really egregious happened, a person's nervous system might have locked that away in the vault for good reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So that is not necessary for healing. A lot of people want to try to figure out, and they really drive themselves like nuts just trying to figure out stuff. But a lot of times when that happens, it's stuff that happened to someone they experience early on, like the 0 to 6 months, maybe in utero.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was a difficult pregnancy. Maybe there was stuff going on in the world at that point in time. And maybe, mom absorbs some of that traumatic stress in the world. I think of all of the babies that were developing around like 9/11. Absolutely.
I mean, even I remember sitting as a family watching the news, and my children were just pre-teenage. A lot of them were pre-teenage because I have a mixed family, and it was really frightening. Not pretty frightening. It was frightening for all of us.
Yeah.
And so, of course, we're going to not pretend that nothing's happened in the moments, and then we really don't think about the after effects of everything, and how scared the kids could be to go out to school or leave the house or whatever.
Absolutely.
And as a child, I grew up. I don't know what year you were born, but I grew up in the 60s in elementary school, where we had to get under our desks or against our lockers
protect our head in case the Russians bombed us. like that desk was really going to help us.
Craziness. Now we're talking about COVID too, right?
And now I have great concerns for the mental health of our youth and our kids, because now we have active shooter drills in schools. Like, okay, somebody's, we're going to do this because somebody's going to try to come and massacre you.
I didn't realize there were active shooter drills. Wow.
They are, and they're horrible.
Oh my God.
They're
Wow.
frightening.
And all of the public schools or
Yeah,
private schools as
all the
well?
schools.
Wow.
Yeah. And I actually have several friends that are teachers, but one that has talked about the active shooter drill, that what they're instructed to do if there's an active shooter drill and the kids are not in the classroom, let's say they're coming into the classroom or they're coming from the bathroom or something, they have to shut the door and lock it and leave them on the other side of the door. And then all the kids in the classroom are like, Miss So-and-so, Miss So-and-so, let's so, and she's like, I can't. And then they have to pretend and be quiet. And what is that doing to our children?
Wow. That's frightening. You just unleashed something in me that I just didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
Wow.
At least that was like 2 years ago, and I don't think it's really changed.
Wow.
I could, I'm open to correction, new information,
Sure.
but yeah.
I
And
have to.
because my daughter said, "Oh yeah, we've been doing it for," she's not in school anymore, but "Oh yeah, we were doing that for a long time." I'm like, "What?"
Mm.
Yeah, most parents don't even know that.
They didn't even send a letter home telling the
Yeah.
parents that this was happening?
No.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
So I want to go change a little topic here and talk about another quote of yours is identify the hidden roots of love addiction, reactivity, and narcissistic abuse. And so many people know about narcissism because it's been, it's been widely talked about.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know that many people know about love addiction.
Oh, love addiction.
And
so powerful.
Causes and consequences of love addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So, love addiction, if someone grows up with a abandonment wound, somebody grows up with an abandonment wound, okay, so their primary caretaker doesn't appropriately attach to the child for a variety of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
It can be through a mental health issue, it can be through a substance abuse issue, it could be through a death, it could be through their own trauma, just a lot of different reasons. They don't really connect with that child. That child is always going to, like, one of our primary desires in life and need is to be seen and to be heard and to be recognized.
Mm-hmm.
So if that isn't met early on, right, and later on we go out into the world, that need is still there. When someone comes along and recognizes us, all of a sudden that recognition, that thing that somebody noticed me is like, oh, it's euphoria.
Right.
And that euphoria gets hooked in to the person. They get totally hooked in. And when you're in that euphoric state, you don't see any of the red flags.
And many times that actually occurs connected to a narcissist, right?
Sure, it happens. It can happen connected to a narcissist, absolutely. It also can happen to just somebody who's emotionally shut down and love avoidant. They don't necessarily have to be a narcissist, but they don't really have the ability to connect emotionally. But what happens is the love addicted person, makes up this story and this fantasy about the object of their affection. They're so invested in the fantasy that when the person that they're engaging with pulls back, and typically they pull back because they can't take the emotional content, love avoidant. They're overwhelmed by emotional content. They grew up with being enmeshed and having way too much connection, overly connected. So the love avoidant pulls back. The love addict goes through withdrawal from the connection. Their abandonment wounds, all of that stuff comes up. And then they'll be like, he abandoned me, or she abandoned me, or my friend abandoned me. Nobody abandoned you besides your original caretakers. You might have abandoned yourself by, we can abandon ourselves. I think
And how can you tell the listeners what is the process to learning about that and the process for them to heal from that?
Sure. The process for learning about it is, first of all, you take a relationship inventory, and you take the inventory, and if you see similarities in your, we like literally, I chart all the relationships. How did it start? What's the story you made up? How did it end? And typically these love addicted relationships are filled with drama. They're filled with drama. They're filled with text threads. They're filled with people knocking on the door of somebody's heart or physically or on their door. Like, please see me, see me, see me. I just want you to see me. So if that's a pattern for you in your life, that you're like knocking on doors that are not open, and you're experiencing this grief when somebody pulls back and you literally feel like you're going to die, that's probably love addiction, right? It's normal when a relationship ends for us to feel grief. But when we feel like we're going to die because a relationship ended, that means we've put that partner in the position of being the source of our goodness, our higher power.
That's a really good point, the higher power.
Yeah.
It's like anything, because that's why it's called love addiction, right? Because it's alcohol is your higher power, drugs.
Exactly. Work. Right. People can get love addicted to their work.
Right.
They can get love addicted to an institution. They can get love addicted to a political figure. And, if they feel let down or betrayed, that's when the mountain of the volcano of emotions come.
Sure.
And when somebody's going through a love addiction withdrawal, a lot of times it is a psychiatric emergency. And people get really mad that people don't.
They become suicidal? Is that why?
Yeah, they can become suicidal. They can become suicidal. They can become homicidal. They can, years ago, it was in the news, all in the news, but where this astronaut drove across the country. She put Depends on to drive across the country.
I remember that? Story, yeah.
To confront her lover's girlfriend or something. I can't remember all the details. But you're like, oh my God, this person is highly intelligent. She's putting diapers on to drive across the country to go and confront the betrayed. That was classic love addiction. But it doesn't have to be that dramatic.
Sure.
It happens at a more subtle level. But it's the whole hook of he or she, they noticed me. They thought I was important. They valued me. That is the oxygen that person's been searching for since childhood. So I'll finish the answering because you asked, okay, what do you do about it? Well, what I will say is you have to do a lot of therapy. And because you have to do the therapy because you have to go back and treat the original abandonment wound. You can't just go out and a lot of people will say this, well, it didn't work out with Bob. I know. You need to get out there.
A lot of people say, well, you just picked the same partner.
Yeah.
Right? And without thinking, there's what is the deep reason to pick that same partner?
Exactly.
Right?
Why are you doing this repetition compulsion, picking the same person, trying to put a different ending on the story? And a lot of times people say, you just need to get out there and date again. That's the worst thing. That's the worst thing to do before you heal that wound.
Right.
Because you're just going to pick another person.
So many people belittle self-care, but that self-care is about not getting involved in that relationship and doing the work, the therapy, or whatever else. Can you talk about, and you talked about it in the book, and here I'm going to quote again, learn actionable strategies for setting boundaries, reducing chaos, and finding peace. And you've had a lot of influences. You talked with me about Pia Melody and Bessel van der Kolk and others that you've, and then what are some of the things that you can, or you take someone through in therapy to be able to help begin the healing process for someone?
Well, first of all, we start to look at somebody's life and try to look at where the chaos is in their life. And typically, if there's chaos, unless there's been like a natural disaster, a medical crisis, a financial crisis, pandemic, um, there's one other I can't remember right now, but it's about lack of boundaries. So literally boundaries are these energetic guideposts that we put up to be able to protect ourselves from other people's behaviors spilling into ourselves, and for us to protect the world from us spilling out, us spilling out into the world, to be able to be respectful and intimate. And so I begin by teaching people some just communication skills, and teaching people literally about appropriate space, just having appropriate space between each other. I mean, like I've worked a lot in different treatment settings, and we would do that. We would do, this is the amount of space that you need, or this is the amount of space that I need in order for me to feel safe.
Right. And that's different for each person
well.
It's really important for us to know what that space is for ourselves.
Exactly. And not only that, you are not responsible for making me comfortable.
Yeah.
So Pam, if I need more space, it's not appropriate for me to tell you to back up. What a healthy thing to do is to say, Pam, I'm going to need some more space, so I'm going to take a step back.
Understood.
Very simple thing.
Right.
But really, really, like these simple little things. One little thing after another.
Many
little
people
thing.
didn't learn them in childhood.
No,
right? Because there was a meshment and boundaries.
And we were taught to just be polite. Be polite. Be good little girls. Don't open your mouth. Don't say if something's uncomfortable. You know, so literally just honoring some simple space is just a little simple, but can totally change the direction.
What are some of the tools that people can do for them? Women, we're talking about women now. Women can do for themselves beyond therapy to begin to settle their nervous system.
So I'm a huge proponent of massage.
I do that every other week.
Yeah, really, to get some healthy touch, to be able to carve away the time just for yourself where nobody needs you, nobody can get to you, nobody can call you. It's just your sacred time. So that's one thing. Also, I really think it's really important for everyone to have a journaling practice, whether it be 2 minutes a day or an hour, doesn't matter. Just a time to really start to check in with yourself and just kind of like go through what your day is, and to be able to catch things before it gets too big.
Sure.
To be able to catch things before in the 12-step program, they talk about a daily inventory. But it's a really beautiful thing to do.
There are some gratitude books too that you can start in the morning and then reflect at the end of the evening. That's one of the books that I have worked with before. So having that morning time to set, I'm grateful for, and I have the experience and beauty to be able to look out at water. It's not the ocean, but water.
Sure.
But it's water in the morning, and be able to have that reflection. And then what I don't remember is at night take that inventory. That's where I'm always missing. I go, into another routine, but
Sure. And it's really important for us before we go to sleep to make sure we are in a like more regulated state. So like a calmer state or a more nurturing state. I'm a big fan of, myself and my husband, what we do is we play music all night long. We play relaxing music all night long in our bedroom because it
just
just
soothes your body.
soothes my nervous system. I mean, I have ADD. My brain is always firing. It's not worried, but it is going. Like it's another project. It's this, that, and the other. And so that really helps me. Also, walking. It's like simple walking or exercise in any form is really good. But I remember when I was early sober and I was a hot, emotional, dysregulated mess. Hot mess. I would call my sponsor. I'd be crying. She'd say, I want you to go walk around the block and just say, thy will be done. Thy will be done. Thy will be done. Thy will be done. So I would kind of grumble at her, like, what's that going to do? But I would do it.
Oh, it's powerful.
And it was really powerful. So having what we now call
because that's
a walking
letting go.
meditation. Right. And it's a walking meditation. And the walking is actually bilateral. So as you're walking bilaterally, you're moving bilaterally, your right and your left side of your brain, of your body, and activating the right and left side of your brain. You're saying a positive statement. You are literally shifting your nervous system into a more resilient place.
Sure. Now, you mentioned drumming in your book as well.
Oh, yeah. I love
And I actually
drumming.
looked up, there is a drumming at Old School Square in Delray.
Yes.
Have you ever gone? Have you gone to that one?
Yes, I
you
have.
Need to let me know when you go so I can go with you, because I was already, I have a little drum that I can bring with me so I can carry it. Is that also bilateral?
Yes, because it's bilateral.
Right.
And I always tell people, the drum can take anything that you can put out. The very interesting thing many interesting things, another interesting thing about drumming is as we drum, it activates the vagus nerve. And there's research that says that it helps to heal pre-verbal trauma.
Wow, that's strong.
Yeah, that's really strong because pre-verbal trauma gets stored in our brainstem because that's the part of our brain that comes online first, right, before we have language. And so the vibrations and the drumming helps to move, to heal
I think
that.
I'm going to just start drumming on my own. Just take the drum out when my husband's not home.
Well, interestingly enough, years ago, I lived up north and I had a basement. And one day I went downstairs in the basement and my daughter was banging on a drum and she's about 10 years old. And I said, oh, honey, you want to drum? She goes, no. I'm like, okay. She goes, I'm angry. I said, oh, what are you angry about? She goes, I don't know. And she just been banging on the drum. Well, now when I look back at it, she was probably, starting to hit puberty. So of course she was angry.
Right.
She was
She had
hormonal.
a lot of,
So I always encourage my clients to drum, to get a drum or just drum, or go and get a paint can at Home Depot, a bucket or whatever, and bring that to a drumming circle.
They have these panda drums, but I don't know that they actually have two. I think there's only one mallet.
Yeah.
And I had a small one I gave to my grandchildren, and my sister said she bought a big one, but I'd have to look in to see. But they're supposed to be very soothing as well.
Sure. So
But-
music is incredibly, unless the songs are attached to a trauma, or a loss. Another thing that is really, really, really good to do is just take a simple cold bottle of water and put it on your wrist. Put cold water on your wrist. It's going to activate your vagus nerve, and that's the longest nerve running from your body, from the base of your brainstem, all the way down through your organs. So this is going to activate that self-soothing, and it just helps to calm you.
That's so simple. I hadn't heard that
So
one
simple.
before. Wow.
And it'll stop a panic attack in its tracks.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, so many of my clients have said, well, why didn't they ever tell us this?
And do you teach your clients EFT, emotional freedom technique?
Yes, the tapping. Yes.
I'm going to have someone that I'm recording in a couple weeks that taught EFT to the survivors of Rwanda. And
wonderful.
she's out in California. And so I'm really excited to have her on and talk about how that,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
and
Yeah.
what has actually transpired, because they were able to teach others in their community of Rwanda. Each of them, they had,
Right.
well, she'll be able to talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, that's and that costs no money.
Right, exactly. And to teach others how
And
to
to
do
teach
that.
others. I used to teach a lot of nurses. When I had my practice up in Rhode Island, I had a lot of nurses and doctors that worked at the major hospital there. And they would go out during the break, the ER. You'd see them out on the wall, and they'd all be like, all right, here we go.
I wish I knew it when I was
Right.
when I was my first stint at nursing back in Philadelphia in the trauma area. I was like, yeah, it's trauma.
Yeah, it's trauma, and it's
Trauma.
carried trauma.
Yeah.
And it's carried trauma. And also the importance of like wiping all of that energy off your body.
Yeah, Qigong that's one of the things that I just started learning about and
Great.
started doing and feeling like all that is being wiped away, like wiping it away.
Literally
energy.
wiping it away.
Yeah.
And really blocking your core. Like blocking your core, and that's one of the boundaries. It's like, we're going to block our core, because from here to here is where we absorb most of the emotional discharge energy of a person. So if you and I, if you were crying, yelling, screaming, whatever you were doing, your energy would go right here over my shoulder, because I am not facing you with my core. So I talk to people about how they should position themselves when they're having big emotional conversations.
That's important.
Because a lot of times we're like, especially those of us who have, are empathetic, we want to come right up to you and just be like, oh, it's okay. Let me.
But then you're grabbing all of that energy.
No, I can come right up to you, but face my core another way. And I teach this to medical professionals as well when they go into patients' rooms, to make sure they take their clipboard or whatever and put it over their core if they have to deliver difficult information. So,
Wow.
and these doctors are like, they didn't tell me that in medical school.
It just brings me back to, I'm a cancer survivor. I know you are as well.
Yes.
And when I was re-diagnosed in 2020, my oncologist, who was a lovely man up in Michigan, read my CT scan, and I thought it'd been 3 years without cancer.
Sure.
He says, I found a spot on your liver. And I looked at him and started crying. I said, what the fuck? How can you do this work? And I'm projecting it on him.
Right.
And he just stood there like a kind gentleman. I'm like, and I didn't want to do that to him, but delivering that news is awful.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everybody, you're not taught in medical school and nursing school, or I don't even know if you're taught in therapy school to protect yourself.
No.
You find that out later.
No. You find that out when you reach burnout.
Right. Right.
when you reach burnout,
and hopefully you find some help before it's you
right, or some
crash,
of
really crash and burn.
You have mentors and supervisors who can teach you some of these strategies, and that's one of the things I am incredibly, I think it's just so important that each of us has a circle of support.
Mm-hmm.
Each human walking through the world needs a circle of support. Some people need a smaller circle, some people need a bigger circle.
A community
But
is
you
what
need
everybody needs.
community. And whether, and not just for people who are working in this field, but everybody needs a community.
Mm-hmm. We found that out very strongly during COVID when people just couldn't, and it really was very difficult for everyone to isolate.
Absolutely.
Even though you may not see people, multiple people daily in your life. And I strongly believe that I need to be around people in order to have, energy for myself in the day-to-day workings of life.
Sure. And if you're somebody who doesn't necessarily have a really great positive outlet and you're stuck with yourself all day long, you're only in that same negative feedback loop. And there's nobody, there is no one that can challenge your or stop or interrupt that thought process. Or you're not going out and seeing all the beautiful glimmers in life.
Sure. So your healing begins now, and starting the journey with Rescued today is another one of your quotes. And I want to close with having the listeners, we talk about some of the steps they can start with their healing journey. Where can they find your book, and how can they connect with you personally or professionally, I should say?
All right. So Rescued, Hope for the Shattered Heart and Soul is available on Amazon. And you can either go directly to Amazon or on my website, www.triciayoungs.com. And on the website, there's a link to get the book. There's also a link to contact me. I'm pretty sure there's a phone number on there, email, Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of those places.
You're a busy lady.
I am a busy lady. That's the gift of ADD.
Sure.
Of ADHD. I'm like, I've got a lot of projects going on, and I love them all. So
well, you've been able to use that as a gift rather than a deficit. And that's where
absolutely
that's where the healing shows that.
Absolutely. And when I was young, I was quite often told that was a deficit.
Mm-hmm. You are. People, because the educators really start the process.
Yeah, the educators.
That's another story.
Yeah, exactly. We could go on a couple weeks on that. Yeah.
What final words of encouragement can you give to women who are shattered?
What I would like you to know is a shattered heart can heal. And you really have to rescue yourself, but you can't do it alone. Right? So you need to reach out to other people to help you in your rescuing, but nobody's coming to rescue you. Nobody is going to do that. There's some action steps you're going to need to take, but you don't have to do them alone at all, which that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you and
thank you so much for what you're doing to share the story and the reality of resilience.
Yes.
And no matter what life throws at you, something good can come of it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for joining the conversation today. If you are seeking help for yourself or a loved one, please reach out to our Feinberg Consulting team at 248-538-5425. That's 248-538-5425, and check out our website at feinbergcare.com. I'm grateful for our guests and all who have joined us today. Make sure you follow us on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere you listen to podcasts.